Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I have a special guest on the podcast today. Glenna Dunnigan is a farmer in my 5X Your Farm Sales program. And as you know, I love to have farmers on here and just share what it's like to be inside the program so that you all out there listening knows that there's help out there for farmers. And so we're just going to have a conversation. You're going to hear all about her and her farm and what you're up to. So, Glenna, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you live, give us your website name so they can look you up if they want, and tell us what you farm.
Okay, like you said, I'm Glenna Dunnigan, and I'm a wife and mother of four children, and I live close to Florence, Alabama, in the north west corner. And my website is thefireflyfarms.com, and we have cut flowers, produce. We dabble in beef, and I'm really working on the focus.
Good.
That's one of my goals, is to whittle some things down, and we did that a lot last year, and we're going to do it even more this year. Actually, just watched your last podcast about focus and how important that it is. But I grew up on a farm. I grew up on 1,000 acres in Tennessee. My dad was a farmer. My dad's a farmer. His dad's a farmer. I mean, we're just agriculture in our blood, and have a degree in agricultural business from the University of Tennessee, Martin. And so I always knew I wanted to be in agriculture. And so when I was stuck in a cubicle working for a cotton company in Memphis, I'm dreaming of a CSA, and I'm dreaming of how I can use my family land to actually have a profitable farm. And my dad had a bad farming accident close to 20 years ago now. And so we moved back closer to home, and just that desire and that pull towards the land and towards farming, it's just been so strong in my life. And but started having babies. I have four children. And I became a stay-at-home mom. And we were always at what we call the big farm in the summers, gardening and canning and preserving food. And I really knew that I had to pass this on to my children. And so I made them a deal, because you get to eat is not motivation for children to work in the garden
Right.
anymore.
That's true.
So I said, okay, I'll take the produce to town to the farmer's market, and we'll split the money if you'll help me in the garden. So that's kind of how we got started. And that was about 6 years ago. So my oldest daughter at the time was 9. So I guess this will be our 7th year. She's 16 now. And so that has been their summer job. That's how they make their summer money. But it just kind of like whet my appetite just enough, because I was like, I have a degree in agriculture and I've lived on a farm my whole life. If I can't make money at the farmer's market, something's wrong. But then when you're doing direct to customer sales, it's a lot different than taking a load of cattle to the sale barn, or
Mhm.
your grain to the granary. And I was just like, oh, this is hard. It's harder than what I think that it should be. And so a friend, and actually another flower farmer in the area, mentioned you, and she had been following some of your work. And so I started listening to the podcast, and bought your book, and
Mhm.
and so I was like, I want to do more. There's got to be help for me to be able to do this. And my husband is supportive in helping me, but he has a job. He has a full-time job, and I don't want him to feel like he has to have a second job, to support my dream. So it's been important to me to be self-sufficient in it, to I have to make enough money to run the business without drawing from our personal funds too much. And so after the pandemic in 2020, 2021, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it big. And at that time, we had moved out to a small 10-acre farm, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to pull the trigger. And so I did all the free
Mhm.
trainings and all the
Yeah,
free
yeah, the
um,
pricing, the email marketing, I know all the free stuff that goes along with the
yeah,
podcast. Wonderful. There
yeah,
you go,
the
25 steps to start
25
set
steps.
up.
That's I think that's an old one.
Yeah.
And the the marketing. Um, this is the 2024, but I did
Yeah.
that in 2023 and just really dug in. Um, and it's been transformative.
Yeah, I love your story that you emailed that you made it a goal to make enough money with all the free stuff to afford to sign up for the program, and you did it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love sharing with
Absolutely.
people is a 99% of what I teach is free, and you can have so much success with the free things I teach. And
Right.
then, the 5X your farm sales is next level to take it to what you're doing, which is, you've created a job, an income for your family, and you still get to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Yeah. Do you homeschool too?
No, I don't.
Okay, just curious because I know lots of
Yeah.
them homeschool and farm. And so
Yeah.
then
And that's amazing. But
that is
no, but my
amazing.
it's crazy. But my kids are involved in athletics, and so we have and all kind of extracurricular activities. So the juggling the schedule and the time management, even the free time management that I did last year was helped me a ton. And then to go deeper into that is just you really do find time for all the things.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I tell farmers you'll find 10 to 20 hours a week in the time management program, the way I teach you to change how you think about time. So good. This is wonderful confirmation. So take me back to what was the struggle? Like, why did you decide to join? You were doing the free stuff, you knew there was value. What were you struggling with personally, or what was going on that you thought, I need outside help if I want to do what? What was going on in your head?
A lot of overwhelm, and a lot of because I was being successful enough to work myself to death, to want to do more and more, because it's farming is a lot like gambling. It's a lot like a gambling addiction
Sure.
because you make just enough to want to go back and do it again
Mhm.
and do more and do more. And then, all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I've got all these things. I've got all these balls in the air and I don't exactly know how to juggle them. I know just enough almost to be dangerous, I guess. And I knew that, and I had thought if I'm successful enough with all of this free, if I can prove it through the free training and just doing what I can do, then I know that taking that leap can help me manage all of the little pieces that
Mhm.
need to be pulled in. That
Yeah.
yeah.
And so tell me more about that. So then you joined, and did you start with I always suggest you start with the time management program. Did you start with that, and tell us
Yeah.
what happened there?
Well, when I started in August, of course, the kids had gone back to school, and every at the beginning of the school year, there's just
Mhm.
so much to do, so many places to be, so many meetings to attend, so many, just, and then trying to do, but the calm and the confidence that you get from, just being able to do that thought download on Sunday and get it all out, get everything out of your mind that's swirling around in there and actually get it down on paper. But I will say a challenge is that when you're so accustomed to just being in overwhelm
Uh-huh.
and being in on that hamster wheel, like sometimes I'm like, I'll get nervous all of a sudden and I'm like, no, it's it's scheduled.
You're
It's on there.
yes,
It's okay.
you're bringing up something that like when farmers go through the program and they calm their lives down and the anxiety goes away, it almost feels like something's wrong because they're used to operating in overwhelm and stress and anxiety. And so there's a period of adjustment there, a month or two, where I coach them on it's okay. Nothing, what if it's okay that your life is now calm and peaceful? It could be
Right.
such a shock to people. So you had to go
It
through
is.
that. It
Yes.
sounds like, yeah.
Yes. Yes. I
How's
love
that?
what
Oh, go ahead.
oh, about the river of misery.
Yes. Yeah, you think when I find more time, life will be wonderful. But then because it's so new to you, you get in this river of misery where you think, wait, something's wrong because I don't have 100 things weighing down on me anymore. What happened? And yeah, go through that
Right.
river of misery. But on the
Right.
other side of river of misery is calm and peace and all that.
Yes.
So then how has that trickled down into your family? Like, has there been changes in your relationship with your husband, your kids, other areas because of the work you've done with the time management?
Yes, actually, my daughter that just turned 16, she is a major overachiever. She doesn't want to just make A's. She wants valedictorian. She doesn't want to just be on the tennis team. She wants to be number one. She's highly competitive and so one day she was like, "Oh no, I've got all this to do. I've got so many things to do, and I don't really know where to start." And I said, "Just get it all out." So you got to start with just, and I just coached her through how to write down all her thoughts, write down everything that was coming up in her head, and then schedule it. And she was like, "Oh,
Ah.
okay, I can do that." Give it a time block, and make sure that you just give it that much time, and you do it in that much time. And she was really impressed with that and has been able to use that. And, you know, uh, to have the planner there gives the kids such a sense of stability
Mhm.
and reassurance. They know what's coming up. Um, so they can go and look and say, okay, we're having this for dinner. I have this
Oh,
practice. I have this, coming up. My mom's going to be here and there. They know where I'm going to be and what I'm doing and so they feel more secure in their day.
okay, so you're talking about the planner that I
Yeah.
include in class, the 5X Your Farm Sales 5X Your Farm in Your Life. It's a planner and calendar. And I think what a beautiful thing you're doing. So you're using the calendar, which is so cute, by the way. It has a farm theme. You're using it for the whole family, and it's creating this sense of security and confidence in your family because of the planning you've learned to do. I love
Right.
that. So it's a family planner. How cool
Yeah.
is that? Great.
Yeah, well, because when you're a family farmer, and one of the big reasons I wanted to join is because the family element.
Mhm.
So uh, most businesses aren't run with the help of your children
Right.
and your spouse. You go to work, you run your business, you come home, whatever. But when your children are your employees, you have to know, and their life is your life, and it's all just one life.
Mm-hmm.
All the hours in the day are just, that's all we have. And and my youngest daughter, that's 10, um, she was, she was kind of didn't want me to do the class because she was like, Mom, you're already doing enough farming stuff.
Oh,
And so I don't want
interesting.
you to do any more farming stuff. You're already doing enough. And I was like, but Valley, this lady can help me. She can
Amazing.
help me learn how to manage so that you don't feel like I'm doing too much, that, that I can plan my time so that, and that was one big thing growing up in a farming household. I never saw my dad. You know,
Right.
he came home at 9:30 at night, ate supper and went to bed.
And you're
Um,
changing that legacy for your
right,
family. Just, and all
right,
we've touched on is the time management program. We haven't even gotten into the
right,
rest of it. Look, I
right,
have had
right.
many farmers tell me that that their teenagers are using the time management program. I've had at least one person here on the podcast who homeschools her, is it several kids, and she made it part of her homeschool curriculum, the time management that I teach, because
Yeah,
it's so
yeah,
life changing. And so it bought your 10-year-old was scared she would miss out on time with you by taking another class, and instead you bought time. You're able to be more present with your kids
right,
because of this investing
right,
in this training. I love that.
right.
So let's get into, so then marketing. You already said what I love to let farmers know is direct to consumer marketing is the hardest thing you'll do because farming is full time and it's a business. And then if you're selling direct to consumer, yes, you get to keep more of the dollar, but it's a whole new set of skills to learn. So then you went on to the farming, I mean, yeah, farm marketing from the heart or the marketing program. Tell me about that. What parts have you used? What successes are you having? Walk us through that.
Well, I think in 2023, when I did the free training for the farm marketing business plan, and you walked us through, what is it, like, I think it was 23 steps or 23 questions to ask yourself and to make goals and to really sit down and look at the products that we were selling and honestly and say, what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
do I want to continue, what's not working, is it valuable in other ways? And really made me see that, um, that even though I love the produce, that flowers are really where the money is,
Ah, yeah.
for us, for our market. And so for us to really say, okay, and to see it on paper and to make those goals. And I did it with the whole family. I brought in my husband and my daughter that's 16, and my 13-year-old had, they're old enough to be, really involved in the business decision, um, because I want, a huge part of this that I want to do for my family is to teach my kids how to run a business
Hmm.
and teach my kids how to work and earn money. And so I really want them involved in all the decisions that we make. And when we sat down and we just talked it all out, uh, I was able to see and really, what do I need? Where do I not have enough resources? Where, what do I have too much of? To just focus my thoughts and focus how I was going to plan the year, and really get the website going, how important that blog is to encourage people to visit my site. And we were able to just really hone in
Hmm.
and, kind of go forward in a way that that just ended up just, pushing us way over the top in a way I couldn't have imagined at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, those questions I do in the business planning section, which by the way, I'm sure you did not get questions like that in your ag business program because
No,
because
no.
it recognizes that it's a system. Your farm is not in a vacuum. It's in a system of one, your thoughts, your desires, your life. It fits in your life and your family's life. So those questions, 25 questions or so, are asked in a way you don't see them anywhere else in the world. Nobody's teaching you to ask these questions about your business, but it is what creates a fulfilling and profitable farm business. It makes sure you don't get to a place where you might be making money, but you've created something you don't enjoy. That's a huge problem with farmers. These questions make sure that if as you create your farm business, it is fulfilling, it is what you enjoy, and you make money. So I love that they're holistic. Like the questions take the whole unit, the whole system of family and every individual and the family together and the farm business. And so that's wonderful that your kids are getting to experience that. And like I said, you're changing your legacy. You're teaching them how to build profitable farms instead of struggling like my parents did, similar to your parents too. So, okay. So then you discovered that the flowers make more money for you in your area.
Right.
And one thing I teach on all the time, it was on the podcast today, which you said you just listened to, and it's episode 197, that you got to focus on one thing. And you joined in August. So I would love to hear a little bit about that process. Most farmers come to me and they've got 3 or 5 or 10 or 15 things they're trying to
Right.
sell, which means
Yeah.
you are not getting one thing to success. If you can't get one thing profitable, you can't get multiple things profitable. And so they learn at the start, all right, where can I focus my marketing? Even if I have all the things going on. Tell me about that process for you, learning that, oh, focus is how we're going to make more money. What's going on there?
Well, and in ag business and in traditional farming, diversification is what's preached. You have to diversify, and even in your stock portfolio, your investment uh, coaches will say, you have to diversify your portfolio. And so, for many years, I've been, spreading myself over lots of different products in the attempt to, I think you said it on the podcast, to see what sticks.
See what
You
sticks.
know,
Yeah. And
I'm
I
going to,
want to jump in just for a second and say diversification is wonderful, but never at the start. It's ignorant to
right,
diversify at the start. Warren Buffett talks
right,
about that. So not in relation to farming, but it's true
right,
in farming. It's ignorant to diversify at the start because anything will stick if you focus on it. Nothing will stick if you focus on everything. And unfortunately, we hear these people preaching diversification. And so we think that's where we start. But you've got to learn how to get one product to
right,
profitability. Then you can add the second product. And as a matter of fact, today on the podcast, I have a video where I show you how the first product will then be the seed money to pay for the second product. And it's so sustainable. Okay. So yeah. So
yeah,
you were up against the mindset of you've heard about diversification your whole farm experience. And then here's this person teaching you that's what's doing people in. So tell us more about that.
Well, and it's so funny. I have a friend who has dairy goats, but she loves to garden. So she wants to, and she's a master gardener, and she wants to do that. And then she's like, but I really think I'm going to get some dairy cows because I think they'll come for the dairy for the cow milk, and then they'll buy more goat milk, and then they can get it. And I was like, no, 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 stop, don't do,
That's what everyone,
they're not.
that's the mindset that all farmers have, most of them. And that's what
Yes.
does them in. It's what gets them into trouble.
Yes,
Oh, I
and
hope
she
she takes your
struggles.
advice.
Yeah, well, but she's always tired.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is our culture. I think that
Mhm.
if you show up to a ball game, or to you say, "Oh, how are you?" and you don't say, "Oh, I'm just run ragged. I'm just so tired." That's what everybody expects you to say. And just don't know how I'm going to get everything done.
Mhm.
But to show up with that different mindset of, I'm doing pretty good.
It's
I,
not
I don't
it's
want to live that way. I don't want to live that way.
it's not socially acceptable to say that, isn't it? It's which
That's
is
right.
why I love the Facebook community we have in the program where you can be surrounded by other women who are, and there's men in there too, but it's predominantly women who learn to not overwork and can show up at a ball game and say, "Oh, life is peaceful and calm." And you know what? Other busy people often can't understand that, or they don't want to hear it because it makes them feel bad.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, I have 4 children, and that's most of the time people are like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know how you do it. My one or my two are making me crazy." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, we do
you've learned it's a skill. It's a learned
it is
skill. That's why I
it's a
teach
learned
what I
skill."
yeah, that's why I teach it. It's not
But
that
you
you're
brought up
born. Yeah.
you brought up a big point about the community.
Mhm.
So, as we know, farming and living a rural lifestyle can be very isolating, because um, there aren't a lot of people that are stepping out to do that. And just the logistics of farm life is usually you're removed, and there's not a so I found myself maybe over the past year for sure, being a little bit lonely.
Yes.
Even like, oh, I don't have anybody to listen to me, to actually understand what I'm going through when I'm trying so hard to raise these kids and have this farm and this business. And I didn't and I have friends and I have community, but I still was lonely. And I thought, uh, this is a group of people who are trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be a part of a group that, and every time I listened to the podcast calls and the podcast interviews, I'd be like, oh my goodness, she's she's inside my house somehow.
Right?
these these people are going through the same things that I am. And to have the coaching calls available, um, to go back and listen and to hear that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. We're all in this together, and to take encouragement from other people's successes. That she was going through this with her husband, she was going through this with her kids, and she made it through, and I can too.
Yeah, it's so encouraging and it gives people so much hope and security because a lot of farmers think they're unique and they're a special unicorn with their problems. And then you get in that group and you realize, oh no, we all have the same human brains. We all struggle with the same things. And there's hope and there's solutions. And you're surrounded by a couple hundred people who are examples of what's possible for you because we're all at different stages of growth in there. And now you get to encourage other women just by even just posting about your success, even by them hearing you on this podcast, you will inspire and give encouragement and hope to so many people who know that they don't have to live the way they're living.
Right. And like I was saying, before we got started, Charlotte, rural America and agriculture and farming and the land are so important to me. And so, I don't even know if I can really put into words the the value of our land and our farming heritage, and for people to be able to support themselves um, with the ground that they have underneath their feet. And so many people think they can't do it. And so
Mhm.
many people go out of business. Like you say a lot that, 80% of farms are out of business by what, year two, and
Year two.
98% by year five.
Yeah, that's a
That,
USDA statistic for all those
yeah.
listening. Yeah.
And the age of farmers who have actually made a life of it is getting so much older, and the importance of being able to have land that you can grow your to support your own self and your family is so empowering. And the preservation of our agricultural land is so important to me. And to have this program, and to have you out there saying you can make money. You can make money on the farm. This idea of that there's no money in farming anymore is a lie.
Mhm.
That there is money to be made. You can, and not only can you make money, but you can have a life, a real life. Um, I was talking with my brother-in-law not long ago that so many times people start farming because they want the simple life.
Yeah.
They want to move back to the land and be a farmer because it seems so romantic. And then they get there and it's a lot of hard work
Mhm.
and it takes a lot of effort. But when you do it properly, it's absolutely possible to be a farmer, you know, have right now I'm just thinking we've got varsity tennis 2 days a week. We've got baseball at least 2 days a week. We have practices after school every single day. Kids have homework, and you know what? And I'm running a profitable farm business.
Yeah, you've
And
learned the
that's
skills.
possible
Yes.
to have these things in your life, and to be excited about it.
Mhm.
Like when I went through my 2024 marketing plan, I was just like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so excited."
I
You
l
know,
I love hearing that because it's built that's what those questions do. They help you weed out the stuff that drags you down and bring to life and bring more of the things that excite you, and then money follows, and you're learning the skill, and it is a learned skill. I just want every farmer
learned
everywhere
skill.
to know these are learned skills. It's not the luck of where you live or did you inherit land or do you have a group of people around you that want to pay a lot of money for farm fresh food? It's nothing to do with that. It's the skills you're learning of managing your mind and then the business planning, the business marketing plans we do.
And speaking of mind management, we just had a terrible drought in it last summer and fall that really damaged our pastures. And we do grass fed beef. We do just enough that we do it so that we can eat free meat.
Sure. Yeah.
And we raise one and sell one, but I knew this was something that I really wanted to get into, and kind of dabbling in it. And but I had processing dates. We actually just picked up the meat earlier this week. So a couple of weeks ago, I was so nervous about these cows that we had the drought, we had a Arctic blast event where we had sub-zero temperatures in Alabama
Mhm.
for a week straight, and had fed all this hay, and we were feeding these grass-fed. We feed them pumpkins in the winter, and uh, to help finish them out without grain. And I've sold this meat, and also I only had one returning customer for the quarters of beef that I was selling. And so that emotion immediately came up of, rejection or,
Mhm.
how but then I was like, "Well, I can find new people that
Mhm.
could help me even more." And then I was excited to find new people to buy our meat. And through the coaching, I was able to say, "Well, that's okay that they didn't want it this year. They don't have kids at home anymore. Their kids went to college. They're not eating as much beef, and that's okay." And I was able to convince myself that it really is okay. And then when
Yep.
my son and I are hauling the steers to the processor, I was like, "Okay, Curry, I'm having all these feelings of fear over these beef cows, that the meat's not going to be good. We had all of these challenges. They're not going to be big enough. But you know what? I made this decision out of a clear plan
Mhm.
that I knew, months ago that this is what we were going to do. We were going to do our best, and that, that even though we knew that they weren't going to be as large because of the drought, that they were going to be fine. And you know what? I'm going to do it. The fear is there, but I'm doing it anyway because that was the decision that I made, and it'll be fine. And if these people don't like the meat, it's fine.
Yeah, you had your own
Next
back.
year
You had your
we're
own
we'll
back for what you
it's
did.
not going
Yeah.
to ruin our farm if this one batch of beef is no good. We'll just go back and try again. And it's okay. And
Yeah.
he was kind of like, "Oh, mom,
Yeah. Well, and
that's
so
crazy."
I know. And the mindset coaching is so important and so valuable because in the past, you and many others who have not done it would spend weeks looping on that and beating
Yes.
themselves up ahead of time and afterward. And that's where they find 20 hours in their week. That's where their lives calm down is they stop the beating up. It sounds so simple what you just said. You shifted to it will be okay. I'll find new people. I'll figure it out. If they don't like the meat, that's okay. We'll figure that out too. You have this whole set of thoughts now. How has that changed your life now that you've been in the coaching program for it's been what about 7 months or so since August. How has it changed your life to be able to shift your thinking from what used to be stress, overwhelm, and anxiety, which is most people, to being able to do this now? How has your life changed because of that skill?
Well, for me personally, and I've been through lots of um, freedom, finding freedom from your thoughts and your different kinds of trainings and classes. I'm trying to think of the name of. There's a Beth Moore study, breakaway, breakthrough, something like that. I can't
Sure.
remember, but to get past a lot of rejection issues and made big strides in that.
Mhm.
Um, but really, to go in and get, because if you're going to be doing direct to consumer sales, you better get ready for some rejection.
You better get some skills. Yeah.
You have to have the skill to deal with rejection
Yes.
when you're in direct to consumer sales.
It's just
I
normal.
mean,
It's a part of it.
it's a part of it. And so that was a big thing that would bother me so bad at farmers markets, that that they didn't want to buy what I had. It felt like they were rejecting me
Mhm.
as a human
Yeah.
when they didn't want to buy my vegetables. It sounds so silly, but that was exactly what it felt like.
It sounds
So,
silly to you maybe articulating it, but it is what every person does. And I want to say, I know from my experience, this is anecdotal evidence, but it's thousands of people that I coach. It's women more than men. We have a tendency, so I know a lot of women listening will relate to this. We have a tendency to conflate our business with our value as a human being. And so we think if nobody bought this thing, there's something wrong with our products and therefore there's something wrong with us. So you're describing the thing that I know so many listeners will relate to of, oh, I do that to myself too. I make myself feel so bad when nobody buys. And coaching in the program may teach you how to separate your business is not responsible for making you feel good. You
I've
can,
already rewatched that. That
yeah,
one
that was
like
a couple
3
weeks
times.
ago. Wasn't that
Yes.
amazing coaching? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But Sandy had done a relationship coaching with me on rejection, and she was, the things that she said, were just so just like, oh, that's what I'm like. She was like, you need to just, I want you to just write down, have a gratitude jar. Just write down all these grateful things. You're letting a lot of lies get into your head that don't belong there. And, just, refocus your mind on the truth. And I was just like, goodness, this is just exactly what I need for, because you can't help but have your business relationships and your life relationships
Oh, yeah.
overlap. And
Right.
we only have this one body and this one set of emotions, and you can't just flip it on and off, or maybe
Yeah.
some people can.
When you're a farmer, I like to say your life and business is one and the same.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so the mind management is so crucial. And what I love about this is this program for a year, you get to be surrounded every single day with these ideas, not just like go to church once a week or hear it in a
Right.
class here or see a quote on a wall. You're surrounded day in and by day out, day in and day out. Even if you have the podcast, the private podcast on in the background, teaching you how to manage your mind in a way that saves you time, makes you feel good, makes your business feel
And
fulfilling finally.
to know that you don't have to follow that thought.
Right.
As soon as it comes up, you can say, I don't have to think that.
Yep.
As soon as that feeling of rejection comes up, like, I don't have to let you be here,
You learn in the program, you learn to have choice. You learn that it's your choice
Yes.
whether you our thoughts are the only thing we have control over. We can't control the circumstances like the weather, the drought, the price the auction will pay for whatever. You can't control that. The only thing you can control is your thoughts, which then create your feelings and drive your actions and create your results. So you really have control over your results, the most important thing. And you're learning that. And not only are you learning it, you're doing it and your family's doing it too.
And that idea that when you just have this one big project, like I built a greenhouse, but I got stuck on the door and I couldn't figure out how to do the door. So I've had on my planner, build the greenhouse door. But that my brain was like, that's too big. You don't know how to do that. You don't want to do that. And so it's not been done. But then when I broke it down into
Yeah.
spend 30 minutes researching how to build a door, you know, spend 30 minutes looking through, the Lowe's and Home Depot to see what kind of supplies you might need. And I broke it down, and then I say, okay, and then the next day, go build the door. And it was like, it was so simple. It didn't take me half of the time that I had put aside for that, and it got done. But it was all because, I had that thought, that's too big. I can't do that.
Yeah. And
And so
you learn how to take those overwhelming thoughts and break them down, and they become so doable. And that's where people in the 5X Your Farm Sales program become so much more productive. They become people who can produce 2 or 3 or 5 times what they produced in the past because they're cleaning up their thinking. It all goes back to how they're thinking. Well, in the nature of time, I would love to wrap up by number one, is there anything else you want to point out that where you've had great success? And then the second thing is, what would you say to the person listening who has maybe never invested in themselves or their development, or they're doubtful that they can learn these things, or maybe they think they're too old or too young? I've heard both. Um, or they're just hesitant to invest in a program like this. They think maybe they should buy a tractor instead, or a cow, or a new tool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those two things. Is there anything else you want to share? And then what would you say to the woman who knows she needs help, knows something needs to change? Her life is not fulfilling. Her farm is not what she wanted, but is afraid to invest or doubtful. Can you answer those things?
Well, I'll start out with, for several years in our business, we were just limping along at just being able to make enough money at the market to buy seeds to go in the ground for the next year and let the kids have a little money, spending money in the summers. And then um, when I did that planning in 2023, I was like, I put down this huge, audacious goal of $10,000 in sales, in gross sales. And I was like, I have no idea how this is going to happen. And then I started getting overwhelmed. So, then I broke it down into, 10 ways to make $1,000. So I can do that. And then when I closed out our books, we had actually grossed over $13,000 in sales. And I because at the beginning of the year I thought, if I'll do all of this free training, and if I can have the $2,500 in the bank at the when the fall season comes up, for it to open up in the fall, I'm going to do it. And I had just kind of made that promise to myself. And so that was kind of because like many people, and I would imagine a lot of women listening, you don't want to ask your husband for $2,500 to go,
Mm-hmm.
to go do anything really, I guess. But then, I thought, well, how much is a college course? If I were to go just take 1 hour or 2 hour course at a university, how much is that going to cost? So those were kind of some of my thought processes there. And then when I actually saw the proof in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
that this works, then I knew that I couldn't really afford not to do it if I wanted to take my business to the next level.
Yeah.
And I, we have a lot. My parents still have the huge farm in Tennessee that, a big, big audacious dream is to have that land and to have all of it be productive and profitable. And so, I couldn't jump from something small into something big without having those steps in place.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was worth my while to do it. And even if we don't ever get to the big 1,000-acre farm in Tennessee, that I can make a living on my 10 acres
Yeah.
in Alabama, that I can support myself, raise enough food, and make enough money right here on these few acres to have a sustainable life with my family.
Yeah, to have a
It's
second job without having to leave your kids, leave your home, but
Yes,
you've created a
yes,
second income off your land. That's
yes,
amazing.
yes. Aside from everything that we get to eat, we don't.
Right, right. The groceries. Well,
Yeah.
this has been wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story. So many
I hope I
people.
answered all of those questions that you asked.
I think so. I think people,
Okay.
there's so much hope and inspiration. It's possible when you follow the steps, it's laid out step by step. Yeah. If do you have anything specific to say that to that woman who's doubtful and hesitant, it'll work for her? What would you tell her directly? If she was standing there talking to you like, "Oh, I'm just doubtful. I'm hesitant to join a program for myself. I doubt it'll work." What would your words be to her?
I would say, you don't have to let that stop you.
Mm,
You can take that step and still have those feelings inside of you.
great.
You can't, but to remove that doubt is with evidence, right? We remove doubt with evidence of the truth.
Mhm.
And, if she's, you know, doubtful about the ability of the program to have any success, then you have plenty of free training available on your website, and through the Profitable Mindset podcast and your book, that she can taste and see.
Yeah.
Give it a shot, give it a try, and then um, you know I mean, I think that's as big of a evidence based,
Yeah.
um, reporting that you can do, is that if you go in there and try it for yourself,
Yep.
and I think that success will follow.
Thank you. That was beautiful because I mean that's my mission in life is make sure every farmer everywhere knows that you can have a calm, peaceful, fulfilling life. Doesn't mean stuff doesn't happen. Of course,
Right.
bad things still happen like your drought and you can manage them and still enjoy your farm and make money, whether it's 10,000, 100,000, a million in sales, millions in sales. We have everyone across the board in the program learning how to do this uh, in a mindful, intentional, and profitable way. Well, thank you for being here, Glenna.
Thank
This
you
was,
for asking me.
of course, of course.